swing of the right leg, and we're underway.
Here we go.
You know what time the game starts? All right, here we go, fellas. Let's have a little fun today. Is anybody else tired, or is it just me? I got some advice for y'all. Take 2 weeks off, then quit.
From the goal line to 5 to 10 to 15. Through a hole to the 20, to the 30, outside to the 40. He may be gone. Midfield to the 40, the 30, the 25, 20, the 10, 5. Touchdown for Desmond Howard.
What's going on, Packers fans? Welcome to another edition of PWW Live. I'm your host, Matt Freilich. Alongside me, figured this out this time, Ryan Bowman. Below me, that's an easy one, Kieran Sprecher. We are not joined by Ryan Schoberg this evening. I would make up a story about what he's doing, but it's nothing other than work. So if you guys have something smart, I can segue it to you. But we got some stuff to talk about. It feels like it's been a minute since we've been all together. Obviously, it's been a week since there's been a Packer game. We've got a few more days to rest up for injury-wise, and we'll continue to highlight that as we trend toward the matchup versus the Jacksonville Jaguars in Lambeau Field behind me. But I'll kick it to Bowman. Bowman, how are you doing, man? How are things?
Doing good, man. It's been a busy week on a personal note, but it's good to get back talking about some football. This is my escape from reality. So I'm excited to chat with you guys. Talk a little bit about the last game. Look forward to the next game coming up, and yeah, I think it's going to be a good one. Jacksonville's always kind of a weird game for the Packers, so
it can be. It can be. I mean, they got a couple weapons that we'll talk about, I'm sure, as we progress through this episode. Kieran, what's happening, dude? You got is that an old school sweatshirt? It's got like a vintage feel to it.
Very nice.
Very nice. Very old school. It's kind of short on me now, so it's kind of like the 3/4 sleeve. So just kind of for like a mild fall day. Fall day. Perfect football weather sweatshirt.
Just don't talk about the run defense with your hands, and you'll be set, dude.
I don't know what to do with my hands.
No one will notice.
Yeah, exactly. Like Bowman said, Jaguar games are always kind of interesting for whatever reason. Don't really see them very often. Like you said, a couple weapons to keep an eye on, but I'm excited to get back to winning ways at Lambeau.
For sure. As always, you can get a hold of me on Twitter at Matt_Frey_. Bowman right next to me, just cruising along that way as well, founder of PWW. And then below me, obviously, is Kieran Sprecher. You guys saw all of our adorable faces on Twitter yesterday. If you haven't, go check us out. It's some. I mean, we're to the core Packer fans. I'll admit I had some wavering times when I was in my early teens. I thought the Eagles were pretty cool when they got Terrell Owens, but I found the green and gold as I progressed through life. Did you guys were you ever a fan of any other team, Kieran, as you were younger, or maybe before you were always a Packers fan?
No, I was always a Packers fan. I lived in Arizona for a little bit. So I switched away from my basketball fandom. I went and cheered for the 7 seconds or less Suns, but I always was true to the Packers. It hurts me to hear you say that the Eagles, because that 4th and 21 play kind of was the worst part of my childhood. That was T.O. across the middle in the playoffs.
Yeah, that was. Was that I think it was Freddie Mitchell, wasn't it? Wasn't it Fred X, or was it T.O.? Regardless,
I was too young at that point.
Regardless, you were correct. That was the exact same time I was in that web. Actually remember I was for that game as well. I don't remember gloating too much in front of my dad's inebriated friends, though. Bowman, ever been a fan of any other NFL team? Any Canadian football team that you're a fan of? I don't know if we ever asked you that.
Yeah, so that's an interesting story. As a Canadian, we do have a football league up here called the CFL. Big Winnipeg Blue Bombers fandom going on over here. Go Blue. But how I became a Packers fan is somewhat tied to the CFL. The color scheme of their uniforms is super similar to the Edmonton Eskimo team, and it was really familiar to me. So I just kind of dug it. I always dug that they were, in a small town, similar to my, Winnipeg, right? I'm a small town Canadian guy, so resonated with them. And then I got to watch Brett Favre's first start, and that was it. Like the combination of all of those things, that was it for me. And, I'd always kind of liked them as the NFL team, being a CFL guy. But once I started in my teens getting really into the NFL, it was Packers all the way, man.
Fair enough. Good to know. Always we do this on every show. I feel like it's even randomly on Thursdays. Is anyone drinking tonight? I'm just strictly water.
Well, Schoberg's not here, so I figured I'd just
whoa.
crack one there for you. We got a
Carrying
lovely
the torch.
Trans-Canada Brewing Company.
Yeah,
local,
no. Bring that
local
can
here.
up again. Bring that
All
can
right,
up.
all right.
Is there a polar bear on that?
Yeah, it's blueberry.
Oh,
Blueberry,
that's your
man,
beer.
yeah.
That's your favorite. It's in
very
bottles,
clever.
though. Is it? Aren't you a bottle guy of that beer? Or am I
No,
wrong?
I'll take what I can get. You know, the usually the bottles are cold at the liquor store, but I've had these ones in my beer fridge for a little while, so they're nice and chilled in the cans.
Flexing
So
us with the beer fridge, Kieran.
Yeah, I knew Schoberg wasn't going to be here, so I had to make sure that somebody popped one for the show.
Mm-hmm. Kieran, what are you doing? Are you being responsible like me tonight?
Yeah. I gotta go pick up the brother from work later, so no drinking tonight.
Smart, absolutely.
Drinking for three over here.
We appreciate it. Let's get back to last week, right? It's been a full week since we've had Packers football, 34-17. To be honest, the score probably should have been a little bit wider margin than that if I reflect back on it. Overall, it's one of those games I referenced maybe like the Chiefs game 2 years ago where they played without Patrick Mahomes. Matt Moore was the backup, and it's like, oh, great, you beat the Chiefs. But when you go back and look at it, you're like, oh, you beat that Chiefs team. You beat that Niners team. How much weight will you carry this game into the into the postseason, Bowman? And have Packers figured stuff out yet? Or are you kind of just putting a little asterisk next to this win?
Well, listen, this isn't the team that the Packers lost to in the NFC Championship game last year. There's no question about that. But the Packers on paper should go out and win this game, and they did. And they did it convincingly. So I think there's lots of good stuff to take from that game. Their offensive line, they were beat up to hell, right? And just the maneuvering around they had to do during that game, I thought that was pretty impressive. When we look at, kind of who we got back, getting Aaron Jones and Devontae Adams on the field at the same time, that was really good to see. It's been a while since we've had those two guys fully healthy on the field together. So, it's a win, man. You can always take some good stuff out of there. Did we find out anything about the Packers that we didn't know before going into that game? I don't know. It's such a hard thing to say given of who they were playing against in that moment. But going on the road to San Francisco has never been kind to the Packers. So going there, getting a W, getting out healthy, Jamal Williams, some of the guys are, coming back on track, looking like they're getting there. So, all in all, thumbs up.
Yeah, I agree. Kieran, your thoughts as we progress here? Obviously, it's not the same team like Bowman mentioned from last year. Maybe the winning in Santa Clara is a nice thing to have. I know traveling there, as you mentioned, has been a challenge. But going forward, what do we kind of look at off this win? Is it anything to really have some weight on, or are you still kind of trying to get that rematch come, January?
You can only beat the guys that they put in front of you, So like that, we did our job. Like you said, the score could have been a little bit different. I think 14 of those points came in garbage time when the backups were in. Henry Blackhead was slipping and sliding all over the place. So, I don't think the score really does it justice. We came in, we dominated. For the little bit there, it was 7-3. They had the ball, and the Preston Smith pressure and the Raven Green interception kind of like turned the tides and turned it into a blowout. So like I said, can only beat the guys they put in front of you. Feel good win in California, winning on a Thursday, get that 10-day break. Nothing else you can really ask for. Did our job on Thursday.
Absolutely. You said something there, Kieran, as well, that, I think people, including Packers worldwide, have been pretty hard on Preston Smith for the last few games. He's had a rough outing to start off, but he had a really good game against San Francisco. So whether that's like getting him right and getting, kind of those pressures that we're used to seeing from him, then, I think that will do a lot for the Packers defense. If they can get Z, Preston, and throw in a little dash of Rashawn Gary in there, then we're cooking with oil. So, Matt, I see you having some technical difficulties.
I don't know. I charge my AirPods and stuff. It's always a Mac thing. We haven't had that in a while. So, no, I heard you guys talking defense there. it's funny to think, I don't know if anyone mentioned that, Richie James, like, why is this guy, I mean, they have no receivers out there, right? Like, it's just the fact that he was able to still attack them, like, and I kind of expected the running game to be that, where it's like that was going to be the consistent for the Niners, but whatever. So offensively, it looked okay, but
yeah, I think the biggest thing, like defensively, when you're talking about Richie James and stuff and them dominating, is you see like what turnovers do and what turnovers erase. Like, yeah, he put up a bunch of yards, but since we got the Preston Smith pressure and the Zadarius Smith strip sack and stuff, like those turnovers make you forget all of that stuff. So as long as we can keep creating turnovers, I think that's a good way to build off of.
Mm-hmm. Got Gary in here.
Gary,
always a friend of the show. Not a measuring stick win at all. We learned the O-line was even deeper and more versatile than we thought. Yeah, I mean, that's sound analysis from that game. I won't argue with that, Gary. But let's get a little bit into more. We're gonna trend towards the Jaguars game, but I wanted to give Kieran a chance here to talk about his article that he just got out on PackersWorldwide.com discussing kind of the grades through the first half of the season. Kieran, the floor is yours, man. Go ahead and break down that article, and I'm going to put a comment in the chat to let people know where they can find it.
Totally. It was just the offensive grades. I'll get a defensive grades one out there soon. The offense, it's all good stuff, man. There's a few B's there, but no C's, man. We're top 3 scoring offense in the league, only 0.3 points behind the second place team. I can't remember who it was. But we're putting points on the board. Everyone's doing really well. As Gary mentioned, the offensive line has been our biggest weapon. I gave them an A+ throughout the first half of the season. I mean, can't really ask for much more. We had injuries all across the board, versatility, moving guys in off the bench, Rick Wagner, it's all good stuff. I did the wide receiver position was the hardest to grade. Devontae Adams is on an amazing streak right now, cementing himself as one of the best wide receivers in the league. So you want to give him the top grades that you can, but everyone else not so much. But you're only as strong as your weakest link right now, and the weakest link seems to be MVS, even though he had that bounce back week last week. So I don't want to give up on MVS yet, so I still gave the group as a whole a B because Devontae has been carrying them. But so hopefully MVS can build off of that. Lazard's getting healthy. EQ is still the biggest question mark. So yeah, other than that, offense has been awesome. So good grades all the way around. The defensive one will not be so nice. I'll be a little more ruthless with that one.
Yeah, and I appreciate you tearing those out, right? Because like the productivity of the offense would basically just be overshadowed by how horrendous the defense was, and for your sanity to do it all at once with how lengthy the defense would be, I look forward to that. And just there's a lot of different angles you could take that, right? There's a lot of blame to be had. I don't see a Matt LaFleur grade in here on the offense, so
I that's a good one. I
was just referring to maybe there should be a coach's grade for the defense. I don't care about Matt LaFleur. I'd give him an A, but maybe there's a Mike Pettin one in there at some point. Just a thought. But I agree. I think the grades are accurate. A+. I mean, that's strong. I don't know if they give A+ out anymore in school, but absolutely, just the way how versatile they've been. Kenny Clark mentioned that a little bit today. I try to get to listen to those press conferences, but he just mentioned how that's been such a big, benchmark for the Packers, or something that they can fall back on, as they know they always have this consistent lineman. Even they can mix them in, right? It's not one side, and that's kind of been that was the hitch for the Packers for a while, right? They would a tackle would go out, and you're like, oh, don't really like the backup, or a guard would go out, you're like, ooh, not the best either. But now they're able to shift guys around a little bit. Bowman, your thoughts on Kieran's article, if you have any? Is he on point with anything, off base?
Yeah, no, I think he nailed it. The offensive line clearly, outside of Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, is like them as a whole have been just a huge, huge factor in the Packers' success. I can't recall when we've had guys go down where it's been this seamless. And you look at Elton Jenkins, who's played left tackle, left guard, center, and right tackle at some point this year. And
I think he's played everything, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Maybe not right guard, but like he couldn't play right guard, right? Mm-hmm. So just the fact that he's done that. I mean, Ricky Wagner's been in at left tackle, Billy Turner. So I think like Packers Nation in general owes Billy Turner a little bit of an apology, right? There was a lot of, talk out there when they signed him to that big contract, and was he worth it? Was it worth paying a guard that type of money who had, frankly, not an amazing year in his first year as a Packer, but I mean, this year, geez, that guy is being underpaid for what he's been able to do from a versatility standpoint. So, I mean, Brian Gutekunst's kind of flexing on the media and maybe Packers fans in general on that contract. Myself too. Like I looked at that contract and saw the first year and said, he's got to turn it around, or he might be a salary cap casualty in a year. But I don't think that's the case now. He's really kind of found his niche wherever that needs to be on that Packers offensive line. He's proven that he can play anywhere. Wide receivers, Kieran touched on it, like Davante Adams. If it was just Davante Adams, it's A+, right? But there is some drop off after Davante Adams. And, I think the return of Alan Lazard is going to bring that grade up in the second half of the season. I think, MVS for all the, back and forth that we see about him, he was a 5th round pick. Okay. And if a 5th round pick can be your wide receiver 3-4 right there, that's good. That's what he is. He is not a wide receiver 2, in my opinion. Could he be that? At one point I thought potentially, yeah, but I think MVS is what he is, like a super talented, boomer bust kind of wide receiver that can make you pay, but is going to be inconsistent at times. And that's okay for a 5th round pick that's slotting into wide receiver 3-4.
I'm good with that too, to be honest with you, in the regular season, but come playoff time, like, dude, if you're dropping balls that you need to catch and like Devontae's getting locked up by better like that's when I have a problem. And like, if you can't do this in regular, like just regular, doing your regular job, like, and you get into the real competition in the tournament, if you will, the playoffs, like, you're going to need to man up and do some stuff. But it's the thing that's with MVS too, we'll get a small rabbit hole here, is like Aaron Rodgers multiple times throughout this year has said MVS doesn't have the confidence that he thinks that he needs. But then there's also times where you hear Aaron Rodgers say, he was on Pat McAfee show, again, always listen to that, last week Friday, and talking about how when they went to him on that touchdown, I think the second time, he's like, Devontae, MVS, he's like, he's asked the huddle, like, where are we going to go with the ball? And MVS is like, I want the ball. So it's like, I don't understand how from the same person you're getting, he needs to get more confidence, but then there's that example in the huddle where he's saying, that's the one thing that's confusing with me. Like, I feel like I've never seen him not exude confidence, but I think maybe it's just between the ear confidence and like his mouth does the talking. That's all I can kind of come up with at this point. My buddy here, Forrest, chiming in with some OG Packer stuff. TJ Lang, Jared Allen, RIP the Metrodome. I mean, there's not much else that needs to be said about that. So let's get into the game this week, right? As Bowman mentioned, Jaguars, generally an odd matchup for the Packers. Doesn't happen too often. I was loving the fact that Gardner Minshew might have been rocking some cutoff jorts in November for the Jaguars warming up. That's not the case. Now we got Jake Luton, former Idaho quarterback, 6th round pick, I believe. He's in there. They got our undrafted running back James Robinson, who's carrying my fantasy football team, and basically he's the, I would say, from some rankings in myself, I would say he's probably the offensive rookie of the year if you wouldn't have the quarterbacks in there, and those guys are always going to win that. So that's the guy I'm worried about a little bit, but I'm sure we got more to talk about. So Bowman, what are your thoughts on this matchup for a little nooner action in Titletown?
Well, it's a little bit of a flip from the last time we had to play the Jaguars, right? Traveling down to South Florida in that heat that's a challenge, right? For any team, never mind a team that, is going there at the start of the season when it's really hot there. So I think the last time we played the Jaguars, it was the first game of the season and we had to travel down there for the first game. Am I right on that? Memory's a little bit fuzzy. Cheers. Yeah, exactly. I like that it's at Lambeau. I like that we're taking a team that's used to playing in the heat and the humidity, coming to Lambeau, and potentially I see that there's a possible weather that we might be getting on game day. So, I'd love to see some snow and see what the Jacksonville Jaguars have to do playing in that weather. Do I think they're a big challenge for the Packers? I mean, it's any given Sunday, but again, on paper, the Packers should win this game. They're a better offense, defense. I'm going to say they're actually a better defense than what Jacksonville's been throwing out there. And again, I was encouraged by, just some of that momentum that they might be able to capture from that last game going in. They got a couple of turnovers. They got some sacks. They played the run well, again, against maybe, a high school football team of San Francisco 49ers. But, it's that get right game. So can they take that? Can they apply some of that? We'll see if Mike Pettin can keep dialing up some pressure calls on those run blitzes. Kieran, I see you smiling there. So, but he did do some of that. There was still some 3-man rushes. I think I saw one on the goal line again, and they almost scored the touchdown on it. Thankfully, guy dropped the ball at the end. But that I will never understand. I think we've mentioned 3-man rush pretty much every one of these shows. So yeah, I think the Packers should, if everything goes well and they can stay healthy throughout this game, they should win this game handily.
You would hope, right? I mean, I'll get into my take. I'll let you guys get to it too. I did fact check you. You were correct.
Yes.
Wasn't week 1, 2016. And just to confirm even more, Gary knows Florida's never kind to the Packers. We already know that. That tends to be the case. Kieran, what are your thoughts, man, as the Jaguars come to Lambeau Field? And I mean, essentially, it's at this point, it looked like it was one of the weaker teams on their schedule to start the year when we were previewing the episodes. And at this point, it's like I can't see a team that's worse than them. They don't have a lot. I mean, the defense isn't what it once was, unfortunately. Jalen Ramsey leaving is one of those issues. A couple other players they've lost along the way. Calais Campbell, another one. But offensively, they're really not what I thought you'd see this year at Gardner Minshew, the way they started. But what are your thoughts as we enter into Week 10?
Yeah, so like you, James Robinson has been carrying my fantasy team. I flipped Zeke for Robinson and Thielen pretty early. Packer fans, shut your ears about Thielen. But it was a questionable trade in the beginning, but Robinson's production has kept up, and I actually looked up some stats for you. He scored 10 points in every game this season in fantasy in PPR leagues, and he's had 15 plus touches. So expect a lot of James Robinson's name on Sunday. Like you said, he's probably the player you're worried most about. I don't think James Robinson is going to be able to outpace the Packers offense. If James Robinson has 100 yards and a touchdown, I still think we're going to be able to win this game pretty handily. I think if this game, obviously, like you guys said, if we should win it handily, when it gets dangerous is if we don't pressure Lutton and Lutton is able to be comfortable, because when he was comfortable against the Texans, he kind of looked decent, had some composure. We all know Texans defense is porous at best. So like you said, got to get pressure at him. Shout out Jake Morley. Jawan Taylor, the Jaguars left tackle, has a league high 32 pressures allowed this season. So I'm going to be like Oprah. Zadarius gets a sack. Preston gets a sack. Rashawn gets a sack. Everyone line up over Jawan. Everybody gets a sack. Let's get after Lutton. Turn the ball over. On the offensive side of things, you guys mentioned Aaron Jones against San Francisco, and it felt so good to have him back. Jamal Williams was awesome as a replacement, but when you saw Aaron Jones, he didn't even have like a fantastic game, but he was bouncing off guys, making Fred Warner a little mad. There's a reason why Aaron Jones is the starter. He's amazing. I want to feed him. I want to see him running all over on Sunday. And a lot of people complained about like Dalvin Cook not being able to tackle Dalvin Cook. What people got to understand is Aaron Jones did to the Vikings last year what Dalvin Cook just did to us. Like Aaron Jones is that player who can take over those kinds of games and just absolutely, like, it doesn't matter what the matchup is. Aaron Jones can win. And I want to see 200 yards from Aaron Jones, total scrimmage yards. We'll see if Lazard comes back. He's practicing a little bit. And MVS capitalizing off of those 2 touchdowns, keeping that confidence like you were talking about, Matt. Exactly. You said the Jaguars, like Jalen Ramsey, Calais Campbell, those kind of guys on the Jaguars defense are gone, but their defense has this young cornerback, CJ Henderson. I think he's been playing pretty well. Miles Jack is still there. Joe Schobert, shout out Wisconsin. He's still racking up tackles like crazy. So they got some talent. Packers offense got to do what they've been doing all season, and hopefully the defense can force some turnovers.
The only highlight I've seen of CJ Henderson all year was him just getting absolutely torched, I think, last week by, was it Will Fuller or Brandon Cook? So it was just,
I think it was Brandon Cooks on. Yeah,
it was a tough go for that young man.
Maybe both.
Added layer of complexity. This is the Nathaniel Hackett revenge game. Okay, because I thought he was unfairly treated in Jacksonville. Like, this is the guy that got Blake Bortles to get you to an AFC championship game, and when they were tanking the following year because of Blake Bortles, he got the axe, and somehow Doug Marrone didn't. And I felt like Hackett was kind of a scapegoat there. So I think this is the first time that we've played them since then. So, I look for, maybe some kind of cool creative play that Nathaniel Hackett puts together for this game plan, just to needle it in there a little bit for Doug Marrone. That's my take.
I mean, revenge game for Josh Jones as well. He's on the Jaguars. I was just looking at the injury report. We'll get to the injuries a little bit later, but I mean, Josh Jones probably would have some words to say with Mike McCarthy. I guess Matt LaFleur is a different conversation, but that'll
I expect Aaron Rodgers to take advantage of Josh Jones a lot.
Yeah.
I've seen him play. Like, I've been watching Jacksonville a little bit. I've got a couple of guys from fantasy on a couple of my teams. So, I've seen Josh Jones be out of position and taking penalties and, overzealous play, similar things to what we saw. The guy's a physical specimen, but, he can be had on the back end by a guy like Aaron Rodgers very easily.
And I've been wrong on this. I've been wrong on Packers Roll Live before many, many times. I think this might be the first time Gary's wrong. Mercedes Lewis, 100% is a revenge game if you want to go back to OG Jaguars. Matt LaFleur, I don't see the revenge game, Gary. You need to explain it because I don't get it. Normally Gary's good. Normally Gary comes strong with the takes, and we like Gary on the show. But I don't.
Have Lazard and Tyler Irvin are also Jaguars alumni. So there is a lot of and they talked about that in one of the pressers today, that there is a lot of those old connections, and they kind of know, they know some of the personnel there based on like who's here in the building right now. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they have any wrinkles that they can take advantage of with that knowledge. And Mercedes Lewis, he got a touchdown last game, so maybe he gets some pay dirt against his old team again this week.
Let Big Dog eat. I would say, I think everything what you guys are talking about, especially Kieran, because we have James Robinson fantasy, so we've been even more aware of him. But he's a solid runner, right? Bowling ball type guy, 5'9". Kenny Clark had some nice things to say about him today in the press conference of the few minutes I listened to. But really what I'm interested in is if – we'll get into this a little bit later, but if Jair doesn't play because of the concussion and he didn't practice again today, sounds like he has a hand injury as well, which is, whatever. But what the matchup looks like with DJ Shark, what the matchup looks like with some of these younger receivers that they have. I know LaVisca Chenault's banged up, so that kind of sucks. It'd be nice to see him, see what type of matchup issues they could conjure up out there. But it will be interesting to see if Lutton would have time to get the ball into DJ Shark's hands. I know he hasn't had the great of the season as the last, as we've gotten to the middle part of the season. He started out pretty decent, but that'll be interesting to look at. And as far as the Packers offense, it would be nice. Aaron Jones has a potential to get 200 yards all purpose. Why not, right? I don't see why that can be an issue. Is this the game that happens? Possibly. Well, it depends on weather. I haven't checked the weather report, but Bowman, was that you that mentioned the weather? What are we talking here? Are we talking some slushy snow? Because in Green Bay right now, it's been chilly mornings and decent afternoons, but it's definitely getting kind of cruddy out.
Precipitation is what they're calling for, and I think whether that's rain and or snow will kind of depend on the temperature at kickoff. So could be seeing a little bit of both, and I like that. That's the kind of game that Aaron Jones thrives in. Although we did see weather can be the great equalizer between good teams and maybe not so great teams when the Packers played the Vikings. So I think at home again against a team from Jacksonville, Florida, if we see that kind of weather, that plays into the Packers' advantage.
Definitely important to note. Obviously, I threw those up quickly, but shout out Big Cheesehead TV fan. Thanks for chiming in. And then Sam Corger. Does anyone know Sam Corger? I don't know Sam Corger.
I know that Sam Corger loves the Pack. And
there it is.
Would do anything.
I knew you. I figured you would know. Let's get into the injuries a little bit. So I was super optimistic after, well, going into last week. So almost exactly 7 days ago, I was like, dude, this is perfect. You can rest Aaron Jones if necessary. They didn't do that. That's fine. He looked great. Lazard should be able to at least possibly come back this coming week. Doesn't sound like they will bring him back at this point, but I was very optimistic to come back fully healthy. But now when you see Jair get that concussion, and it didn't look like just a normal ding, right? He looked definitely out of it when they showed him on the sidelines. It kind of sucks, but we're definitely have less injuries than what we've had. Kieran was bringing me up to speed before we started, but Jair did not practice today on Thursday. Neither did Mercedes Lewis. Probably, I mean, it says knee, but I would assume that's kind of like a veteran situation. And also Darius Shepard, which not too concerning, but for the Jaguars, they're extremely, extremely banged up. Obviously, Gardner Minshew and his cutoff shorts are out. Dakota Allen, linebacker. Shark was actually banged up this week. What else do we got here? Offensive lineman, defensive lineman. I mean, a lot of guys I honestly don't know the names of, if I'm being dead honest, but no huge names for either side unless Jair doesn't play. Offensive line, I mean, as far as they were limited in practice and whatnot, we'll see what happens. I would hope we're fully healthy this week. But it's nice to at least kind of get back to full strength, you guys. Are there any concerns over Jair not playing this week? Concussion can last? Are you I mean, anything injury related, Kieran, that you're too concerned about? Or are we kind of just getting back to square one, getting ready for the stretch through Thanksgiving and so on?
Yeah, I think Jair is obviously the biggest one. I know we've talked about James Robinson already, but I don't think the Jaguars want to win games on the back of James Robinson. They want to win games on the back of that play action bomb to Shark and Conley and Cole, and Laviska is a little banged up right now, but they got a lot of like big body, like athletic guys on the outside. And that's like how when they win games, like the Texans game was a little close. They were bombing the ball down the field. I think Lutton threw over 300 yards. So I think the weather kind of plays to our advantage in that. But if Jair's out, Josh Jackson's been playing well. Kevin King is kind of coming back too. So that first game back in the weather, that might be kind of tough for him too. So we'll keep an eye on that. So yeah, the wide receiver or the cornerback position, if Jair's out, is going to be really, really interesting. I don't know if Chandon would move over there if Kevin is out. He's normally just been the slot guy, but I don't know what they've been really doing. I haven't looked into it much. Fingers crossed that Jair comes back, but not coming back off a Thursday, especially the concussion protocol. I don't even think I think they're going to have to rule him out probably early tomorrow if he didn't practice today already. So it's going to be tough. Hopefully Kevin King can play, but like I said, with that weather, I don't know if you want him coming back right away.
Definitely. Bowman, your thoughts injury-wise? Either, I mean, sucks for not getting to see Minshew, as I said. It would have been cool to see what he can do. I'm a big Gardner Minshew fan, as you guys can tell. But any injuries on either side, do you think it affects his game too much?
Yeah, I mean, Kieran touched on it. Jair is concerning in the sense that, we've had an extra few days of rest here, and he's still appearing not to be out of that concussion protocol. So, where we've seen, guys like Devontae Adams who've been taken out for a concussion and they're ready to go, like, within a few days they're practicing. It just, everybody reacts to these things differently. So it's a really hard injury to kind of project, when you're going to get that guy back. But I think Kieran's right. At Thursday, not seeing him. Friday will be, kind of the indicator. I think if he doesn't get any kind of limited participation or anything like that, then we're probably looking at being out. So, we said it before, Josh Jackson's been manning the fort for the last few weeks. Not flawless by any stretch, but he's played good football. He's played physical, against the run. He's tackled well. Couple of mistakes, a couple of grabs, and that's kind of just in Josh Jackson's DNA a little bit at times. But, I think they've been using him better. It looks like they have been calling some zone to, shade some stuff to his side, which, we talked about it in the offseason, how that's how we were hoping we'd see him used. So, yeah, I think, he's being put into a position to fill that gap. If we get Kevin King back, I feel a heck of a lot better about having those two guys on the outside and Kadar Holman manning the slot. Or, we've got, I'm not sure Raven Green got injured in the last game, but did he come back in? There was, I think he participated this week, but, Chandon Sullivan, he's been having a pretty good year. So I think the guys have they can cover if Jair's out, but it's always I'm more concerned about kind of the long-term effects of a concussion, because you guys said it, like Jair looked out of sorts when he came off the field. Like he was not, when he was walking off there, it wasn't just like they were pulling him off and he's like, no, I'm good. He took himself out of the game and was, looked pretty shook up. So, honestly, keep him out until he's ready to go, because you don't want to mess with that kind of stuff. And I think with Kevin King coming back, Packers have some depth to be able to fill that gap.
Definitely. Looks like Raven Green, was not on the injury report this week, so that's good. Back to Kevin King. I forgot to talk about him still battling that quad. He was limited again in practice for both Wednesday and Thursday. So, regardless if Jair doesn't play, it'll be a good test for these younger cornerbacks to go up. So we'll see what happens that way. But as we do it always for this show, we like to preview these Thursday night football. Got 14 minutes till it kicks off. Colts Titans. I always love Thursday night football because I feel like it gives me a chance to look at teams I normally don't get to see. I think I've watched a few minutes of Titans games. Colts maybe a quarter or two this year. Generally, I'm watching all Packers, trying to catch the other game if it's at the same time, or watching Red Zone, so I don't get to watch the full games. But first, we start with fantasy implications. Does anyone have anyone on fantasy football? Bowman clearly does.
I do. I've got King Henry going in my league this year, and this is in my pirate league where I'm the pirate, and if I beat the person, I get to steal their best player. So I've won quite a few games, so I'm approaching super pirate status now, and King Henry, I'm hoping he rolls all over the Colts.
So you've told us about this. You've told us about this league a little bit. Let's get a little bit more. We got some time here.
Sure. It's
how many wins you got?
Shoot, I think I'm 6-2. Yeah, 6-2. We didn't start till week 2.
Who have you been sniping? You got Derrick Henry. Who else is you snaking?
So I sniped Lamar Jackson. I sniped Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey, Robbie Anderson, Tyreek Hill.
Oh gosh,
I can't remember the other one. I'm drawing a blank there.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So if you lose, then the person who beats you becomes the pirate, or how do you?
No,
you're just the pirate all year.
I'm just the pirate, but I didn't get to draft my team until after everybody else drafted. So it's a 14-team league. The whole league drafted, and I drafted my team off waivers. So my team was garbage when I drafted it, but I got some good waiver wires. Like I picked up Mike Davis off waivers right before Christian McCaffrey was injured. I drafted Myles Gaskin, who turned out to be like a starter in Miami, right? So, I got a little bit lucky. I ran into some weak opponents, and if you get some early wins as the pirate in this 100%. League, it can pay some dividends down the road. So, I'm sitting pretty. I think I'm in second place in the league, and as a pirate, that's never been done before. So I'm trying to set some swashbuckling records in the pirate league here, and I'll keep you guys posted if you want to know. Yeah, go, cheer for King Henry so I can. The guy I'm playing against this week has Alvin Kamara, so I want to add him to my list of superstars this week.
That would be tough. Go.
I think that would effectively end it for those people. If I have that team and you can already throw an Alvin Kamara on there, I'm gonna be tough to beat.
Definitely. Kieran, you got anyone going tonight, fantasy football wise? Any bets going? I know Schoberg's usually our bet correspondent, so I don't have any information on that. But what are you thinking, Kieran?
Sorry, my dog was barking for a little bit, so I didn't want to. So I got AJ Brown going in one league. I don't know Jonathan Taylor. I think I left him in on the flex. I'm kind of worried about that Titans defense though, but don't really have a viable option to replace him. And I like cheering for my Wisconsin guys, so hopefully he can get into the end zone. Derrick Henry probably going to be the top point scorer tonight. Colts, both of these teams have really good defenses, and it's a Thursday game. I believe they both played this week. The Titans beat the Bears last week. I don't know if the Colts played. I can't recall what the Colts did on Sunday.
I don't either.
I don't know if they played. Oh yeah, they definitely played because the Phillip Rivers falling down, dude.
He jumped over. Yeah,
when he was
over him.
Yeah, he tried to make the tackle and he got hurdled. So like coming off a short week, good defenses. I expect a really low scoring game. So life may be too short to bet the under, but if you want to win some money, take that under. Slow, grinding game. I don't think either of these quarterbacks are really going to air it out with these pass rushes. I think we play the Colts in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. They're coming up, so keep an eye on them, scout them a little bit, see what's going on. Darius Leonard in the middle. That guy is a beast.
So good. So good.
Colts offensive line is really good too, so we'll see how that they're going to want to run the ball. They'll probably run the ball all over us. I watched the Titans a lot last week because they were playing the Bears, and I was hoping they'd blow them out. They kind of kept them around for a little bit, so I don't know what to expect from them this week.
I would say like this seems to me like a game. You both have hit on it. This just seems like just a perfect storm for Derrick Henry. Just have a huge game. Like that's kind of what I'm looking at. Like short week. You don't really install a whole bunch of stuff going into a short week. I know last week I had traded away A.J. Brown in fantasy. I got Terry McLaurin with a couple other guys. So that was still waiting to see how it works. There's an injury in play that I don't even want to talk about. But the receivers last week I was watching the Titans game were not very reliable. So I think it even just goes into – I think they have a tight end banged up too. Jonnu Smith may have got banged up. So it's like it's even more leaning into the fact that Henry could have a big game. And I just feel like it's trending towards that way for him. Good point though, like you said about the Colts. Next week the Packers do play the Colts, and I'm to be dead honest, like the receivers are horrible. T.Y. Hilton I drafted in the league, he's been absolute garbage. Paris Campbell's done nothing. Michael Pittman just came back from an injury. I think Zach Pascal's their leading pass catcher. Receiving yards wise, I believe Hines might even be their receiving overall reception leader, but I am kind of concerned about those running backs. Jonathan Taylor, you mentioned Hines and Wilkins, see what happens in 2 weeks with the Packers, but overall should be a good game. No real ramifications other than maybe scouting the Colts for 2 weeks to come. But Phillip Rivers, that man is, there's going to be, he's just a meme factory. Like he's a GIF just production line. It's just always going to have something good from him. Whether it's a play like last week that Kieran mentioned, which I can't remember who jumped over him. Like that's crystal clear Phillip Rivers. And like, if you guys watch this entire game, which I know I will, I have no reason not to, but like when it comes less than 5 minutes left, if Phillip Rivers has the ball, which he normally does, down more than a touchdown, down less points than a touchdown, but more than a field goal with like one timeout left, he's got to go the length of the field. Like it's just like, it happens all the time. And if it happens, don't say I told you so, because it's just the way things work. But I expect – do you guys have any predictions? I expect the Titans to win this game. I'm not confident in Phillip Rivers. I think the Titans' defense is a lot better than the Colts, to be honest. And I think Mike Vrabel, he's one of my favorite coaches to watch in the league, just from the straight like savviness he pulls off between playing within the rules, kind of bending the rules a little bit. Like I just like what kind of he brings to that team. You guys have predictions at all on the outcome?
As long as Derrick Henry goes for 102 TDs, I'm good. So,
okay.
And I think game script will play a big role in that. So I'm hoping for the Titans to kind of, pull away to a comfortable enough lead where they just want to run that ball and get out of there.
Absolutely. Kieran?
Yeah, like you said, those wide receivers for the Colts haven't been doing much because all those guys are deep threats, and Phillip Rivers can't throw the ball down the field right now. So I'm going to go with something obscure, something like 21-15. The Colts kick 3 or 5 field goals. Titans get into the end zone a couple times. If Vrabel goes for it on 4th down, So 3 touchdowns. 3 touchdowns beats 5 field goals. Titans 21-15.
Who's got Blankenship going in fantasy?
There you go.
Blankenship. That's who you need. Like he's stack on him. That's hilarious. I like that. Decent score. I don't know what the over-under is, but I would probably smash the under if I had to guess. I'm assuming the Titans are favored, but we'll see what happens. But Thursday Night Football kicks off in 6 minutes. We're going to wrap up here. But as always, you guys have probably, if you watch this entire episode, you see all of our all of our social media handles on the bottom. Follow us on Instagram, YouTube. Please subscribe there. Like us on Facebook, Twitter. Slide in our DMs if you have any questions or stuff you want to get to or any hot takes you want to get talked about on the show. You can, of course, get a hold of Kieran Sprecher down below with his Twitter handle. he puts out all of our articles, and look for his defensive one to come. What are you thinking? Next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, Thanksgiving,
No.
maybe a little Thanksgiving chew on that in the morning. What do you got?
It's the midterm grade, so probably before Sunday. I'll get one out Saturday, so hopefully they read it and they get some extra motivation to prove me wrong.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I like that. You can get a hold of Ryan Bowman, of course, on Twitter as always. Schoberg's not here to harass him about his Twitter followers, but that doesn't really matter. So
I'm out of the void. I'm like 200 plus now, guys. Like
you're out of the void.
Out of the void. That's all that matters.
Of course, I've already mentioned Schoberg. You can tweet at him. He's, I guess, in the midst of some work stuff right now and have a busy couple of weeks, but he'll be here to invigorate us with his, pop and tops and his bets along the way. And then, of course, you can follow me on Twitter as always at Matt_Frey_. And again, tweet at us anytime. Check us out on Thursdays when we do our PWW Live halftime of games. We love doing that. The PWW halftime hits, 15-20 minutes at most. We just break down the first half of games and sit and enjoy with you. But we're out. We're going to enjoy this Thursday night football game. Keep saying Sunday, but you guys be well, and we'll talk to you soon.
Now, here's the run-up. Swing of the right leg, and we're underway.
Here we go.
You know what time the game starts? All right, here we go, fellas. Let's have a little fun today. Is anybody else tired, or is it just me? I got some advice for y'all. Take 2 weeks off, then quit.
From the goal line,